Hello folks, and welcome to what promises to be the most exciting video of our course together. The second introductory video for Deco 3100 Information Visualization Design Studio, Policies and Procedures. I mock this, but this is actually an important video for you to engage with. I will make it as simple and brief for you as I can. That's not the right button. There we are. All right. There are two documents that you will want to get your head around. Now you've made it to Canvas. I assume you've made it to Canvas because that is where you should find these videos. There are two documents that make up the basics of a unit here at the University of Sydney. The first is the unit outline, which is a very brief document that goes on the university website that points out just the shape of InfoVis Studio. And then there is the unit schedule, which is a document I make specifically for you rather than for the university website that tells you what you need to know to get started. Let's have a brief look at the unit outline first. So this is the unit outline. You can find it on the university's website by looking for Deco 3100. It gives you a brief overview, a little bit of look at the assignments. These are given in more detail in the unit schedule, and I'd encourage you to look there. It talks about some of the policies that we're going to go through today. That's a good place to brush up on some of those. And then it has this. I think this is probably the most important thing on the unit outline page, the 4 learning outcomes. My goal, the thing I am paid to do, and the thing that you are paying to do in taking this course is to learn how to do these 4 things. Let's have a quick look through them. The first one is to design compelling visual narratives using data, including the ability to develop and justify mappings appropriate for a context. So that is how to actually do visual communication design with data. That's the first thing we're going to learn how to do. The second is I've really got to learn how to mute notifications just in case someone says something spicy on these videos. To recognize, demonstrate, and implement aesthetic and human-centered design qualities, including the ability to justify an appropriate solution based on a brief. So this is about doing design, doing interaction design, but in this case with data. And the third one is the ability to manipulate, transform, synthesize data into representations that can be used for visualization, artificial intelligence principles. This is the basics of data science. And then the fourth one, to hypothesize, evaluate, and revise visualizations based on rigorous user-centered evaluation. So this is, can you do UX testing of your visualizations? So the 4 things in abstract are, can you design with data? Can you design in a way that respects your audience and your context? Can you manipulate data? And can you test whether your visualizations are any good? So moving then on to the unit schedule, this is a document that I put forward to you as my contract for what I'm actually going to deliver. So this will tell you a little bit about what we're doing. I'll have a weekly breakdown of what we're going to do. You have your assessment deadlines in here. You have the specific dates and the assessment criteria for each of those things here. Each of these rubrics is something that I'm going to use to assess your performance on the assignments, and each of them is based on one of those learning outcomes from before. Next thing that we need to consider is what happens when things don't necessarily go perfect. These are boring, but you would be better served to have, engaged with them a little bit now than to wait until you super need it. Late penalties are quite onerous. For each day that you miss, you will have 5% subtracted from your mark for that assignment, and after 10 days, you will get 0. Don't be late. Special consideration for accident, illness, misadventure, etc. is available for those who were unable to submit an assignment on time for events that are beyond their control. You can apply for it by putting special consideration into the university website or just Googling special consideration Sydney Uni. Get it as early as you possibly can. It is very tempting if you get seriously sick to just leave all of your university stuff. Please, if you can, even get yourself out of bed and apply for that special consideration process. It is fair, it is relatively straightforward, and you should be able to get your the grades that you deserve. For those with conditions that are more long-lasting rather than the specific incidents that might cause you to need special consideration, I would really encourage you to engage for any reason, for any condition, with the university's Disability Services group. Again, you can just punch Disability Services Sydney Uni into Google. They are great. They listen. They will talk to you about what your options are. And it is far better to have talked to them and have a disability management plan and then not need it than not have one and end up needing it. They are discreet. They do not tell me what might be the issue. They just tell me the considerations that we as a university need to make to give you the fullest and fairest educational experience. Don't skimp out on that one. So, a bunch of things that you should and shouldn't do. Plagiarism happens much more than you would expect. I catch maybe 2 or 3 cases of plagiarism every year. Probably the funniest one I've ever got in design was someone who copied the text of a persona, like a 1-paragraph description of a made-up user, from someone's About Me page on their website. I don't know, personas are probably the easiest thing to make up badly. I don't know why they felt the need to do that. You'll get caught. Using data, code, references, examples from other sources is encouraged in this unit. You don't have to do everything from scratch. A good designer knows when to reuse. Reinventing the wheel is not a laudative act. But acknowledge everything that you get information from. If you're in doubt, just acknowledge it anyway. If you looked at something and you feel, was I inspired by that? Or maybe did I use that? Just mention it. It is incredibly easy to get caught. You will get caught, and the penalties are extremely severe. It's just not worth it. If you're struggling with an assignment, talk to one of us before it gets to the point where you feel desperate. We'll help out in any way that we can. Attendance. Last year, the university suspended its attendance requirements, which are that you attend 90% or more of timetabled activities, and that if you ever need to miss a timetabled activity, you need to email me with a reason. That is actually not suspended this year, but I've made the decision not to take attendance in my units because I still feel we're operating in an environment where it's too easy for remote participants to feel disadvantaged. So I usually really like taking attendance. I think that everybody needs to be given just a little bit of an encouragement to do the right thing, and that many of you will be sitting here saying, I'm going to attend every single lecture. This guy seems cool. Maybe. But I definitely want to be in this subject. And then some days you just feel like it's tricky to get out of bed. I understand. That's why we have attendance policies. It's just enough of a push to get you going, but not this year. We're not going to enforce attendance this year. But that said, consider this my earnest plea. Show up. You will get your money's worth. You are paying either upfront or in debt to take this course. You will get your money's worth just by showing up. And I hope that when you do show up, we'll give you something interesting to do and you won't feel like your time was wasted. The other thing I really want to cover, those last 2 things were things that you need to be careful of. This next one is about giving you an opportunity to have your voice be heard if you think that me or any of my staff are doing something untoward. There's 2 processes by which you can lodge an appeal. One, the university complaints system, which you can find online just by Googling Complaints Sydney University, is where you would go to complain about the conduct of one of my tutors, about one of your peers, or of me. The process is very discreet. It moves relatively quickly, and I think that it is both fair and transparent. The level of privacy between the complainant and the complainee, I feel, is really respectful. You will not have a bad experience going through that process. The website lays out the things you need to do first before lodging a formal complaint. You should try and follow that process should you need to do so. Academic appeals are a bit different. That's if you need to appeal not some conduct, but a decision that has been made by myself or one of the people who have been marking your work. If you feel that you were unfairly marked, if you feel that a decision was rendered upon your work that does not reflect the published rubrics for what should be necessary to get a grade, The first step in the academic appeals process is to talk to the responsible staff member. That's this guy. And we will handle, so you lodge a complaint with the unit coordinator, and we will handle that, if possible, through an arbitration process. If that arbitration process breaks down, then you go to the official academic complaints process, and they will have someone above my head, the program director, someone in the school, adjudicate whether the action was fair. Now, I'm spending a lot of time on this, not because I think that we are going to need this process. Both of these, at least in my experience, are substantially more rare than troubles with plagiarism or attendance. I have actually never had an academic appeals process lodged against me, although I've had plenty of students come wanting to talk. But part of our job is to make sure that you, the customer, in a sense, understand the constraints and the organizations under which we're operating. Sometimes it seems like your lecturers are just from a magical ivory tower and they're not beholden to anyone. I happen to think it's pretty important that you understand that my behavior is governed by a set of rules, your behavior is governed by a set of rules, and should anyone feel offended by anyone's conduct, there are processes in place to deal with that. That's all I wanted to cover in the policy and procedures lecture. Like I said, it is not always the most exciting, but I think it's an important process of getting all of this started. And I went through it as quickly as I could, giving these subjects some justice. I will see you in the next video, which promises to be a rollicking ride through the history of visual displays of data.